I think I joined in the beginning of October and then jumped on my first group call in the community on, I think, the 20th. I checked it out recently. I think it was on the 20th I really start to engage. And the funny thing is you see like an instant increase in revenue. And then I think, as you say, in November, I think we started then on the one-on-one, and then it skyrocketed. I mean, that's a big part of the success is, and you can literally see it in the chart where the spikes were. And by myself, and especially I'm a very impulsive person. I just change shit. Without your help, I would never have gotten there. And sometimes it was very, very small suggestions. A lot of it, I mean, we did the bigger audit, which helped a lot as well. And that was the biggest jump as well. And that, I think, that got all the campaigns in the right direction. But at the same time, a lot of times it was really small things like, hey, wait 2 more days. And I'm like, I want to change.
Yeah.
But that's in general with coaches. I mean, I work with a lot of different coaches for different things. I just get coaches for everything I want to know, I want to learn, I get a coach. Whether it's being business or personal, I get a coach. And that's why I knew I want to have a coach for Google as well. And then I was actually looking for Google Ads courses and coaches specifically for e-commerce for a while. But I didn't really find much either on YouTube. There is some guys that have some videos, but it was really nobody that I felt like, okay, that's someone I want to have as a coach, or it was super high level information. And then I saw your ads and I was like, oh, there's an e-commerce Google Ads. I want to have that.
Well, it's been a pleasure, bro. It's been enjoyable and watching you scale as well. Maybe we could talk a little bit about how we did that. So we started initially in one market, or you brought the product to one market, which was Germany, because your native language is German, right?
Yeah.
Born in Austria.
I thought you were gonna say you're native from Germany, but I'm not.
No,
Austrian,
native
German
language.
is
But so you decided to launch in Germany and did a fantastic job of getting the campaign to a super profitable point and kind of scaling it up and increasing the budgets. And then you decided to also scale horizontally, right?
Yeah.
So you then launched after Germany, was it UK or France?
UK, then France,
and
UK,
then
France,
US, and then Austria.
Yeah, US and Austria, yeah.
And your approach to doing that was you're leveraging Shopify markets, right? And you're changing the language and of course currency and other relevant information per page, per location.
Yeah, right. That's a very big change on Shopify's side as well. Back in the days, a lot of people had different stores for each language because you couldn't have different currencies, and then they started to have a little different currencies and stuff like that. But it was technically it was not as easy to now. Now you can literally just have a different market, different currency, different language, like specific to the market. You have your separate domains and everything. I really love that. And then I think that's a very big part as well in the success, because everything was tailored to that. We did that back in the days as well, but with separate stores. So you had to set up everything from scratch. Now you can translate everything, have the same store, same dashboard, and then you can change things on the product page specific to that market. And then I think that's very important, because even if a US company is selling in Germany or somewhere in Europe, everybody's familiar with with USD, but at the same time, it suggests that it's not coming from your country, and maybe it's going to take a long time. A lot of the people are not familiar with USD, so they don't know how much is it exactly. Of course, there's always like currency conversion apps, and then it makes the prices look weird. And so that was a very important thing, I think, to have everything in the right currency with normal looking prices and in their language.
Yeah, for sure. It's a game changer.
Same with the ads.
Yeah.
Everything was tailored to that. In Germany, Austria, everything is in German. UK, everything is in English. In France, everything is in French. So and that's how we're gonna continue scaling as well.
I think it's super important when trying to maintain a decent conversion rate, which you do have. But I know what's also been interesting is each time you launch in a new market, it's always that initial sort of, how's it going to perform? What are the metrics going to look like compared to the other countries? And hopefully, as you're starting to see now, it just takes a little bit of time to acquire that data initially. Like a lot of people, and maybe you felt the same way at the start, when they don't see that kind of immediate success, they suddenly think, oh, it's kind of not working. And maybe that comes from when people kind of test creatives on Meta and they'll just kill them very quickly. Whereas Google it's more of like sometimes a slower start, but as you collect more data and you begin to make more subtle optimizations, whether that be to do, like you say, with your keywords or your search terms or locations or device adjustments, whatever it may be, there's so many different levers that you can pull once you have enough data that some small tweaks can have quite a big impact on the actual performance. So at the start, it's very much just acquiring that data, understanding how to analyze the data, and then making the changes to keep it moving forward.
Yeah, and that was, and I guess I still have that mindset because I'm just a social media buyer, that you launch and kill very quickly. You test something, and on Facebook, in most of the times, it either works or it doesn't. So sometimes you can let it run for a couple of days and then it kicks in, but then also you see a crazy change. It's very, at least in my experience, it was very rare that something slowly starts working and then was profitable. You could do some changes, and back in the days you switched out interest, which you don't do anymore. So now we started with having the same ad launched like 5 times, and one of them usually takes off. That's a testing way, but it is still either works or not. So out of the 5 ones you start, 3 might not work and 2 work.
On Meta, you're talking
on
about.
Meta, yeah. Sorry, on Meta, yeah. And on Google, because you have all the data, you start to exclude things, you start to include other things. You can get very granular and then slowly optimize. So you can have a campaign go from like 2x ROAS to literally a 5, 6, or 7 by doing these optimizations. Sometimes, like you say, it's very small tweaks.
Yeah.
Like we did with the one campaign, we just excluded some competitors because they would just not convert. So, and then that increased the ROAS.
Yeah.
And that's a different mindset.
Yeah. It always makes me laugh when you're like, I'm not sure about the campaign. Like, is it performing well? And I'm like, look, I know we're not at break even yet, but trust me, like, we will get there. Just let it bring in some data.
The Google Ads a wizard. You're always right.
Well, we get there in the end, don't we? Sometimes we just got to leave it a few more days, acquire a bit more data, and make some changes. But you've got some quite big plans for this year. Can we share what your ambition is, or what your goal is, or you want to keep it to yourself?
Oh man, it sounds so weird to say it.
It does, but I like the way that you broke it down into what you need to do to get there.
That was a major point, actually. So it sounds weird. The goal is to have $1 million revenue a month by the end of the year. And first of all, how I even got there is I hired a new coach, and we talked about the goals. That was in December, I think. I hired a new coach, and we talked about the goals for 2025. And at the point, I already had the product, and I was doing close to 200 a month, 200 grand a month. And I said, well, I want to get that product to 300 grand a month. Mm-hmm. I think that's possible if I scale it this way, and I'm going to get into that in a second. And he looks at me and said, think bigger. And I'm like, bro, we're talking about 300,000 a month. That's huge.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, think bigger. And I was like, well, let's do $1 million with no thoughts. I just said, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's going to be my plan, to make $1 million a month in 2025. And then I sat down and was thinking about, okay, how could I do that? And it went from, and for me, that was impossible. Like $1 million a month, that in my mind, that was only the big guys do that. But then I broke it down. And at that point, I think we had 2 markets. I think it was UK and Germany. I'm not sure.
Or France and Germany, one of the 2. Yeah, maybe it was UK and Germany.
Something like that. So I said, okay, if I can do 3 products with 5 markets, and each market is doing 2 to 2.5 grand a month a day in revenue, then I'm going to reach the $1 million. And by breaking it down like that, and like create a spreadsheet, and I had the revenues laid out, and also with ad spend and everything, I just made a simple calculation. And then I was like, wow, that makes sense. Like having 3 products, 5 markets, each market doing like a couple of grand a day. That's doable. Almost any market has enough capacity to have a product that makes 2.5 grand or 2 grand a day. And then it was like, ooh, that's possible. I think I'm gonna reach that. And then from there it was like, okay, there's no way I'm not gonna reach it. And now, and that's only a couple of weeks now because we're not in February. I had this conversation with my coach in December, so not even 2 months. So it went from that's crazy, I'm not gonna do $1 million, to I'm gonna do $1 million 100%. There's no chance I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, when you broke it down that way, even I was like on the call when you broke it down. I thought, yeah, why? Like, how could you not do that? Because you were kind of already on that trajectory. You just need to add a couple more products. Just to clarify, I think it was 3 products doing 2K per day or 2.5K per day in 5 markets or 5 locations, right? So when you break it down like that, to think, well, you're kind of already almost there with 1 product. Will the next couple of products be as successful as the first one? We don't know yet. But if not, you can always just add additional products and kind of, you've already mapped out the blueprint. At that point, it just comes down to the actual product itself, the level of competition and what your conversion rate is and your cost per conversion. But once you get all these numbers in place and you have some data, it's very easy to go, hey, I think we can scale this up to 2K a day.
Still sounds crazy.
It does.
Me, but it's still so, if you break it down, I think that's also the important thing about, in general, setting goals. Yeah. If you set goals, a lot of people make the mistake. They just set a very big goal and then don't think what is between it. They also have that big goal in mind. And that is in life in general. That's not only with making money or business, whatever, it's in general. That's something a lot of people have issues with, because then they fall off because they don't have the steps in between. Yeah. And then it looks way too big, and you're not going to get there. So you need the small in between, and also to know what to do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis to get there. So you can say, okay, if I want to reach this, I have to do X every single day or every single week. And if I reach that every single week, I'm going to get there in a month, in 6 months, and so on.
Yeah, stepping stones. I think dreams.
Make it tangible.
Yeah, exactly. Dreams or goals without a plan are just that. They're just dreams, you know? Like, or the goal's just too far away and it just seems overwhelming. Like saying I'm going to do $1 million a month is one thing, but without a plan, it doesn't mean anything. No. Like, when you've broken it down in a way that actually kind of makes sense and you can look at it and think, actually, that's really achievable. Like you're doing, you just take it one step at a time. Okay, I'm going to add another market. I'm going to add another market. I'm going to add another product. And you can be systemized with it. You know, you can check one of those things off each week, really, if you really wanted to.
I mean, you know, thinking about $1 million a month is crazy. But then if you think, okay, can I do 2,000 or I think it's 2,200 a day in 5 countries? Can I do that? That seems so doable. And then can I do it with 2 more products? Seems very doable as well. You know, finding 2 more products. There's millions of products. Yeah. It just seems so doable.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. And looking forward to seeing you do it, bro. It's not if, it's when, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well.